I never thought love could make someone ashamed of me. But the night he said it out loud, something inside me went quiet forever. If you've ever been made to feel like you weren't good enough for the people you loved, if you've ever stayed silent just to keep the peace, then stay with me. And before we begin, take a moment to like this story, subscribe to the channel, and settle in, because this is not a loud revenge story. This is a quiet one, the kind that changes everything without raising its voice. My name is Clara. I'm not young anymore, but I'm not old either. I've lived long enough to know when something feels wrong, and young enough back then to ignore it. I met Daniel 6 years ago, not in a dramatic way, not under fireworks or music or anything special. We met in a grocery store. I was standing in the cereal aisle, staring too long at 2 boxes I couldn't decide between. He smiled and said, "They taste the same, I've tried." I laughed. That was it. That was how my life with him began. Daniel was kind, quiet, the kind of man who listened more than he spoke. He worked as an engineer, liked his coffee plain, and always folded his clothes right after drying them. He made life feel steady. At first, he made me feel steady too. I came from a small family, just my mother and me after my father passed away when I was a teenager. We didn't have much, but we had warmth. Dinner at the same time every night, simple meals, real conversations. Daniel came from something very different. His parents lived in a large house with white walls and heavy furniture. Everything always looked clean, too clean. Like no one really lived there. The first time I met them, I wore my best dress. Not expensive, just neat. Pressed carefully that morning. His mother smiled at me with her lips but not her eyes. His father shook my hand like he was testing something fragile. They asked polite questions, where I worked, where I studied, what my parents did. I answered honestly, I always did. I noticed the pauses, the small nods, the way his mother glanced at Daniel after I spoke. I told myself I was imagining it. On the drive home, Daniel was quiet. I asked if everything was okay. He said, "They're just old-fashioned, don't worry." So I didn't, at least I tried not to. We moved in together a year later, a small apartment, 2nd floor. The kitchen window faced another building, but the light was good in the mornings. I cooked. Daniel washed dishes. We laughed about nothing important. But whenever his parents were mentioned, the air changed. His mother called often, always polite, always distant. She would ask, "Is Clara still working at that place?" Not where I worked, just that place. Daniel never corrected her. I told myself it didn't matter. Love, I believed, was enough. Then one evening, about 3 years into our relationship, Daniel came home different. He didn't take off his shoes right away. He sat on the edge of the couch, hands folded, eyes on the floor. I asked him what was wrong. He took a breath, a long one. And then he said it. "My parents think you're a downgrade from my ex." The room felt smaller. I didn't speak. I couldn't. He kept going quickly now, like he needed to get it over with. "They don't mean it badly," he said. "They just expected something different from me." I asked softly, "Different how?" He hesitated. "They think you make things uncomfortable." That word stayed with me, uncomfortable. Like a chair that doesn't fit the room. Like a stain someone wants to ignore. I asked him what he wanted. He looked up then. His eyes were tired. "I don't want to make them uncomfortable," he said. "I just want everyone to get along." I nodded. That night I lay awake listening to his breathing beside me, slow, peaceful. Mine was not. I didn't cry, not then. I stared at the ceiling and realized something very simple and very inful. He wasn't defending me, he was managing me. And in that quiet realization, something began to change. Scene cue for editor, fade out. Soft piano begins, night sounds, stillness. This is only the beginning. In part 2, I'll tell you about the dinners, the silences, the comparisons I was never supposed to hear, and the moment I understood that staying quiet was costing me more than leaving ever would. The first dinner after that conversation felt heavier than usual. Daniel told me his parents wanted us over on Sunday. He said it casually, like it was nothing, like he hadn't told me just days earlier that I made them uncomfortable. I almost said no. The word sat on my tongue, but instead I nodded. "I'll come," I said. Not because I wanted to, but because part of me still believed that if I tried harder, things would get better. That Sunday, I cooked a dish my mother used to make. Something warm, something familiar. Daniel's mother took one bite and smiled politely. "Oh," she said, "it's interesting." She didn't take another. We sat at their long dining table, too long for 4 people. The space between us felt like a message. His mother talked about Daniel's ex, not directly, never by name. She said things like, "Some people really understood our family traditions," or, "We used to have such lovely conversations at this table." Daniel smiled, nodded, said nothing. I focused on my plate. His father asked Daniel about work, promotions, connections. Then he turned to me. "And you?" he asked. "Still at the same job?" "Yes," I said. "I like to arrive with shouting." It didn't come with slammed doors or raised voices. It came on a Tuesday evening. Quiet, ordinary. Daniel came home late, later than usual. I was sitting at the kitchen table, a cup of tea in front of me that had gone cold. I wasn't waiting for him on purpose. I just hadn't moved. He set his keys down slowly, too carefully. I looked up at him. "Your parents called," he said. I nodded. "They want to host a small gathering next month," he continued. "Family, friends, some people from work." I waited. He cleared his throat. "They asked if it might be better if you didn't come." The words landed gently, like someone placing something fragile on the table, but the weight of them pressed into my chest. I didn't respond right away. I watched his face. He looked nervous. Not angry, not cruel, just concerned about comfort, their comfort. "And what did you say?" I asked. He hesitated again. "I said I'd talk to you." I leaned back in my chair. "So they don't want me there," I said calmly. "It's not like that," he replied quickly. "They just think it might be awkward." That word again. Awkward. Uncomfortable. Like I was furniture that didn't match the room. I took a slow breath. "Daniel," I said, "do you hear yourself?" He frowned. "I'm just trying to keep the peace," he said. I looked at him and realized something that hurt more than his parents ever could. He didn't see the problem, or worse. He saw it and chose it anyway. That night, I slept on the couch, not because we fought, but because I needed space to hear my own thoughts, in the dark, with the hum of the refrigerator and the soft sound of the city outside. Memories came back to me, my mother telling me to speak clearly, my younger self believing love meant patience, all the times I stayed quiet so others wouldn't feel discomfort. I asked myself a question I had avoided for too long. What happens when love requires you to erase yourself? The next morning, Daniel kissed my forehead before leaving for work. "Love you," he said. I didn't say it back. I watched the door close behind him, and in that silence I made a decision, not a loud one, not dramatic, just a clear one. I would stop trying to prove my worth to people who had already decided I didn't belong. That afternoon, I went to my mother's house. She was watering her plants when I arrived. She smiled when she saw me, then stopped when she noticed my face. We sat at the kitchen table again. "I think I need to leave," I said. She didn't ask who, she didn't ask why, she just nodded. "Good," she said softly. I packed my things over the next few days, quietly, carefully. Daniel noticed, of course. "What's going on?" he asked one evening. "I'm moving out," I said. He stared at me. "Because of my parents?" he asked. "No," I replied. "Because of you." He looked hurt. "I didn't mean for this," he said. "I know," I answered, "and that's the problem." I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just told him the truth. I can't be with someone who stays silent while others make me feel small. He tried to apologize, tried to explain, but explanations don't rebuild self-worth. I left 2 weeks later, no scene, no drama, just a door closing. Leaving didn't feel like freedom right away. It felt like standing in an empty room after the furniture is gone, too quiet, too open. I moved back into my mother's house for a while. My old room still smelled the same, lavender and clean sheets. At night, I lay awake listening to the house settle. No footsteps from another room, no phone buzzing with messages I had to think carefully about before answering, just silence. For the first few weeks, Daniel texted often. "Can we talk?" I didn't realize how bad it was. My parents are upset. They don't understand. I read the messages slowly, then I put the phone down. I wasn't angry. That surprised me. I felt tired and clear. One afternoon, I ran into someone I hadn't seen in years, a woman Daniel used to work with. She looked surprised to see me alone. "Oh," she said carefully, "I heard you moved out." I nodded. She hesitated, then said something she probably didn't mean to. His parents always thought he could do better. She looked embarrassed right after. I smiled politely. "That's okay," I said. "So did he." She opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. That was the moment I understood something important. People had known, they just never said it out loud. Weeks passed. Daniel stopped texting every day, then every week, the silence grew, and in that space I began to feel something I hadn't felt in a long time: pride. I started waking up earlier, cooking meals just for myself, taking long walks in the evening. I remembered who I was before I tried to fit into someone else's expectations. Then one evening, Daniel called. I almost didn't answer, but I did. He sounded different, tired, unsteady. "My parents keep asking about you," he said. I waited. "They didn't think I'd let you leave," he added. That made me pause. "What do they say now?" I asked. "They say I ruined something good," he admitted. I closed my eyes. For years they had judged me quietly, measured me, dismissed me, and now that I was gone, they noticed my absence. That was the revenge. Not shouting, not proving anything, just leaving a space they couldn't fill. "I hope you're okay," Daniel said. "I am," I replied. And this time it was true. We ended the call gently, no promises, no bitterness, just acceptance. Months passed, not quickly, but steadily. Time stopped feeling heavy. Days began to feel like mine again. I found a small apartment not far from my mother's house, just one bedroom, a little balcony that caught the morning sun. I furnished it slowly, one piece at a time. Only things I truly liked. Nothing chosen to impress, nothing chosen to fit someone else's idea of what my life should look like. One afternoon, while I was unpacking books, my phone rang. Daniel's name. I stared at it for a long moment before answering. "Hi," I said. "Hi," he replied. There was a pause. "I saw your mother at the market," he said. "She said you're doing well." "I am," I answered. He breathed out slowly. "I wanted to apologize," he said, "not just for what I did, but for what I didn't do." I listened. "I should have protected you," he continued. "I should have spoken up. I thought staying neutral would keep things calm." I thought of all the times calm meant silence, all the times silence meant pain. "Neutral isn't harmless," I said gently. "It always chooses a side." He didn't argue. "My parents still don't fully understand," he admitted, "but they feel the loss." That word again, loss. For the first time, I felt no need to explain myself. "I hope you learn from this," I said, "for whoever comes next." He was quiet. "I already have," he said softly. When we hung up, I sat on the floor for a while, not sad, not relieved, just complete. A few weeks later, I received a letter, handwritten, careful. It was from his mother. She wrote that she never meant to hurt me, that she had standards, that she worried about her son. But near the end, she wrote something honest. "I didn't realize how much you held our family together." I folded the letter and placed it in a drawer. I didn't respond. Some closures don't need replies. That evening, I cooked dinner and ate alone at my table, candle lit, window open. I felt something warm settle in my chest, not victory, not satisfaction, peace. I used to think revenge had to be loud. I thought it meant proving someone wrong, winning an argument, making sure people knew they had hurt you. But I learned something different. The most powerful revenge I ever took was choosing myself. I didn't yell. I didn't expose anyone. I didn't apologies. I simply removed myself from a place where I was not respected. And in doing that, I created a silence that spoke louder than anger ever could. For a long time, I worried that leaving made me selfish, that I had failed to be patient enough, kind enough, understanding enough. But kindness that costs you your voice is not kindness, it's surrender. I forgave Daniel, not because he asked, but because holding on to disappointment would have kept me tied to the past. I even forgave his parents, not because they changed, but because I did. I learned that when someone loves you, they do not manage you to keep others comfortable. They stand beside you, even when it's awkward, even when it's hard. If you're listening to this and you feel like you're shrinking to fit someone else's world, please hear me. You are not too much. You are not a downgrade. You are not a problem to be managed. Sometimes the quietest goodbye is the strongest boundary you'll ever set. And sometimes, walking away is not a loss, it's a return to yourself. If this story stayed with you, if it reminded you of a time you chose silence just to keep the peace, take a moment to like this video and subscribe for more real-life stories like this one. And if you feel comfortable, share in the comments. What's one moment you chose yourself even when it was hard? Thank you for listening. You're not alone.